Most men live their lives believing loyalty is a promise. They think once a woman gives her heart, she will stay through every storm, every failure, every fall. But that belief is not truth. It's a comfort men create to protect themselves from nature's indifference. Female loyalty is not carved in eternity. It lives in motion. It breathes through change. It is not moral, it is biological. A woman's loyalty is never to the man himself, but to what he represents: power, direction, vitality, the sense that being beside him gives her life meaning and safety. When those vanish, her loyalty shifts, not out of malice but out of instinct. In her world, loyalty is a reflection of energy. She feels when your spirit weakens. She senses when you lose the silent authority that once guided her, and the same heart that once clung to you with tears and devotion begins to withdraw without warning. You call it betrayal. She experiences it as alignment with reality. Men expect constancy because masculine energy is built to build, to maintain, to endure. But the feminine principle is built to adapt. It survives by sensing change before it arrives. That's why when a man loses his mission, a woman's attraction dissolves before she even understands why. She doesn't reason it. She feels it. Loyalty for her is emotional gravity. It exists only as long as something pulls her toward you. When that gravitational field weakens, her nature demands she drift elsewhere. That's the dark truth. Her heart is faithful only to what keeps it alive. Part 1. The Mirror of Power. A woman measures a man not by his words, but by the invisible rhythm of his presence. She's drawn to the man who moves through life, as if he answers to no one but his own destiny. Her loyalty is not chained to comfort, it's chained to his strength. If his world collapses but his spirit remains unbroken, she stays. But if he collapses inwardly, if he begins to look at her for validation, for direction, she begins to lose trust in the very essence that once attracted her. That's why many men fail after giving a woman everything. They confuse devotion with dependency, and once she senses that he lives for her approval, her instincts flip. She can't explain it, but she no longer feels safe under his leadership. Her respect fades first, then her desire, and finally her loyalty. This is the tragedy of good men. They love sincerely, but forget that loyalty is not built on kindness, it's built on strength. A woman cannot follow a man who follows her emotions. Her nature needs to look upward, to see a man who can carry both her chaos and his own without breaking. Part 2. The Instinct of Selection. Since the beginning of time, female loyalty has served one function: survival. When resources were scarce, women aligned with the strongest protector. Today, survival has evolved, but the instinct has not. Now strength is measured in confidence, vision, and social value. The man who radiates purpose still awakens her deepest loyalty. The one who drifts aimlessly, even if kind, triggers her instinct to detach. Her loyalty, then, is conditional on a law older than morality: selection. Nature built her to choose what sustains life, not what flatters promises. That is why a woman can claim to love you forever, and yet vanish once she feels you've stopped growing. Her psyche was never designed to love weakness. It was designed to love direction. This is not cruelty. It is the silent logic of nature. The moment you understand it, bitterness leaves, because you stop demanding permanence from what was never meant to be permanent. You begin to see loyalty not as a cage, but as a reflection of your strength. When you rise, her loyalty deepens. When you fall into passivity, it fades. The dark truth about female loyalty is this: it is not a moral contract, it is a mirror. And if you wish to keep it, don't beg for it. Become the kind of man whose presence commands it without words. Part 3. The Death of Illusion. Every man enters love with a hidden hope that he will be the exception, that somehow his devotion, his sacrifices, his sincerity will create a bond unbreakable by time or temptation. He believes loyalty is proof of love, and love is proof of worth. But this belief is not reality, and it's anesthesia. It dulls the pain of nature's truth. Because loyalty is not a virtue in her world, it's a survival mechanism. A woman's subconscious doesn't ask, is he good? It asks, is he strong? It measures your inner gravity, not your words, not your promises. When your gravity fades, her instincts prepare for departure long before her mind admits it. And this is where illusion begins to die. When the man who once stood tall, certain, unshaken, purpose-driven, begins to drift. When his confidence becomes neediness, when his vision shrinks to her approval, when his strength dissolves into explanation, That's when she starts to pull away.
Slowly at first, subtly, emotionally.
And he, blind to nature's rhythm, mistakes it for misunderstanding. He tells himself she's confused or distant or going through something. But what's really happening is this: she no longer feels safe in his energy. Her instincts whisper one find higher ground. The man she fell for no longer exists. He's become a shadow of himself, orbiting her instead of his mission. Nietzsche warned, "He who despises himself still respects himself as one who despises." But when a man becomes dependent on her validation, he can't even despise himself properly. He becomes hollow, and the feminine instinct cannot attach to hollowness. It needs substance, something to surrender to. This is the death of illusion. It's not the moment she leaves. It's the moment she looks at you and no longer sees a man. It's when her eyes go empty, when her words lose warmth, when her silence becomes heavier than her speech. And as painful as it is, that moment is sacred, because it forces you to see what love blinded you from, that you built your world on dependency, not dominance. And now, nature reclaims what was never truly yours. Part 4. The rebirth of masculine center. There comes a point after every heartbreak where the noise dies. No more pleading, no more explaining, no more attempts to resurrect what died naturally. Only silence remains. And in that silence, a man begins to rebuild, not the relationship but himself. This is the stage most never reach, because they fear being alone with their emptiness. But the few who do enter it discover the source of power that no woman can ever give or take away. It's the power of self-loyalty. For too long he was loyal to her feelings. He bent his path to her moods, adjusted his energy to her comfort. But now his loyalty returns to his own code, his purpose, his discipline, his inner order. He stops asking, "How can I make her love me again?" and begins asking, "How can I respect myself again?" And that shift changes everything, because the man who becomes loyal to his mission becomes magnetic again. He doesn't chase, he radiates. He doesn't speak of confidence. He moves as if the world itself bends to his will. And women, whether they understand it or not, feel that vibration. They sense when a man has reclaimed his masculine center, when his energy no longer revolves around pleasing but creating, conquering, becoming. Her instincts read that as safety. Her emotions interpret it as attraction. And often the same woman who left begins to feel the pull again. Not because of nostalgia, but because nature recognizes strength's return. This is the irony of rebirth. The moment you no longer need her loyalty is the moment you can command it effortlessly. You become the man she wanted before you tried to become what she wanted. And that is the difference between attraction and attachment. Attraction is earned through presence. Attachment is begged through fear. A real man chooses the first and outgrows the second. Part 5. The law of exchange. At the core of all loyalty lies an invisible balance, a natural law that governs energy between man and woman. It cannot be forced, only respected. She gives emotion. You give direction. She offers surrender. You offer structure. She brings chaos. You bring order. When this balance holds, loyalty flows effortlessly. But when a man begins to absorb her chaos instead of containing it, the polarity reverses. She begins to lead emotionally and he begins to follow. And no matter how much she says she wants equality, her instincts despise imbalance. Because deep down, the feminine only feels safe when the masculine stands higher, not in dominance, but in stability. You cannot receive her loyalty if she senses that she must protect you from your own weakness. That is the emotional death of attraction. And yet this is where many modern men live, chasing peace through surrender, mistaking comfort for connection. But loyalty is born in friction, not in comfort. A woman becomes truly loyal when she feels your boundaries, when she senses that you would walk away before you betray your essence. This is the law of exchange. Her devotion mirrors your strength. The more direction you radiate, the more emotion she invests. The moment you abandon your direction, her instincts withdraw that energy to preserve herself. It's not betrayal, it's equilibrium. And here lies the secret. You cannot keep loyalty by asking for it. You keep it by being the kind of man who does not need it to survive. Because when your self-worth is complete, her loyalty is a gift, not oxygen. You accept it with gratitude, not desperation. You enjoy it without illusion. And that detachment, that silent power, creates the deepest loyalty of all, not from fear of loss, but from admiration of strength. So understand this, her loyalty is never yours to own. It is something that renews itself every day you choose to lead. And when you stop leading, it returns to nature, as it should. For loyalty is not a chain to hold her. It's a mirror to remind you who you must remain. Part 6. The return of the test. Every man who rediscovers his center eventually faces the same paradox. Once he rebuilds his strength, once he no longer needs validation, life tests him with the very thing that once destroyed him. It might be the same woman, or a new one who carries her reflection. Different face, same lesson. At first it feels like victory, the return of attraction, the return of admiration. She looks at him again with that spark in her eyes, the same one that used to burn with devotion. But this time he is different. He no longer measures her loyalty through her affection. He measures it through his own detachment. The test is subtle. She will sense your newfound power and unconsciously push against it. Not to hurt you, but to confirm it. A woman's nature is not to obey. It is to test the ground she walks on. She must feel that your foundation is unshakable, that no storm of emotion can make you flinch. That's how her instincts verify safety. And if you fail the test, if you react, beg, or over-explain, the ancient instinct inside her marks you as unstable. Men often mistake these tests for disrespect, but in truth they are opportunities, silent challenges that ask, have you truly become who you claim to be? When you respond with calm, when your tone doesn't break, when your eyes remain steady, she feels it. She may not say a word, but her body relaxes, her spirit softens. Because loyalty at its core is not about love. It's about certainty. And nothing inspires certainty more than a man who cannot be emotionally overthrown. Schopenhauer once said, to marry is to do everything possible to make oneself bored. But boredom arises only when the polarity dies. When a man stops being unpredictable in his mastery, a true man's steadiness is not dull. It's magnetic. He is calm, not passive. Silent, not weak. Detached, not indifferent. And it is within this calm authority that female loyalty finds its natural home. So when life sends the test again, when she pulls away, provokes or questions your worth, smile inwardly. You are not being attacked. You are being verified. Because loyalty that never faces challenge is not loyalty. It is dependency in disguise. And only through the storm does a woman's loyalty become truth instead of convenience. Part 7. The shadow of nature. To understand loyalty fully, you must first understand the shadow that governs it. The shadow is not evil. It is nature's brutal honesty, the part of the feminine that loves deeply but belongs only to power. It is the reason she admires men who command the world yet turns cold to those who surrender theirs. She does not choose this. She is chosen by this, programmed by evolution to seek strength, like a compass seeking north. When you see a woman betray, what you are witnessing is not immorality. It is instinct reclaiming control. Her emotions may want to stay, but her biology will not allow it. And that is why trying to argue or guilt her back never works, because you are not fighting her logic. You are fighting the silent laws of life itself. The shadow teaches one truth, that love is never enough. Only respect sustains loyalty. And respect cannot exist where a man lacks self-command. You can give her everything, your time, your heart, your devotion. But if you give her your center, she will destroy you for it. Not because she's cruel, but because deep down, she cannot love what she must lead. A woman's loyalty thrives under order when you stand firm in your discipline, when your silence holds authority. When your boundaries are sharper than her emotions, she relaxes, because the feminine seeks the container, the invisible structure that gives her chaos meaning. And the man who provides that structure, without arrogance or fear, awakens her deepest loyalty, the kind that is quiet, enduring, and self-renewing. So the shadow is not your enemy. It's your reminder. It whispers, do not fall asleep in love, because the moment you do, you stop leading. And the moment you stop leading, her instincts must retreat. That is not disloyalty, it is preservation. And the man who understands this shadow no longer resents women for it. He respects them for it, because their nature keeps him from becoming weak, keeps him growing, fighting, evolving. The final truth, the darkest truth about female loyalty, is that it was never meant to comfort you. It was meant to refine you, to strip away illusion, to break the boy inside who seeks motherly reassurance from the woman he desires. Loyalty tests a man's soul, not by staying, but by leaving when he no longer deserves it. You can spend your life blaming women for being fickle, or you can see them as mirrors. They reflect your current state of power. When they pull away, it's because your reflection has dimmed. When they stay, it's because your light burns steady. In this understanding, bitterness dies, because you no longer see loyalty as a gift owed to you, but as an echo of your own vibration. You realize the purpose of loss is not punishment, it's purification. It teaches you to become the kind of man who can stand alone, and by doing so never stands alone again. Nietzsche wrote, "One must have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star." The man who faces the chaos of female nature and masters his own does exactly that. He becomes a star she cannot look away from, not because he demands her loyalty, but because he radiates a strength that makes disloyalty unthinkable. So remember this. Loyalty is not something you find in her. It's something you awaken in yourself. When you hold your purpose above pleasure, when your discipline outweighs your desire, when your silence carries more power than your words, she feels it. And even if she leaves, she never forgets it. For in the end, every woman remembers the man who needed nothing, yet gave everything from his abundance. She may wander, but her soul bows to that memory forever. That is the kind of loyalty that cannot be bought, lost, or betrayed. Because it is born not from her nature, but from your mastery.